Hello and welcome back to the TorontoWebsiteDeveloper.com. I am Hugh Jaworski, the Toronto website developer specializing in Drupal. And in this fourth video tutorial of our 10-part video tutorial series on creating modules, or rather module development with Drupal 7, what I want to introduce you to is how we can interact with the database and add entries to our table that we created in tutorial 3. Before we do that, I'm over at TorontoWebsiteDeveloper.com/store. You'll see here you can actually purchase some of my video tutorial series. When this series is done, I'll have it up for purchase as well. When you buy a series from me, it goes to continue to help me bring these tutorial series to you, keep them free, available on YouTube. So I greatly appreciate everyone who does go ahead and purchase that. Alternatively, if you don't have the money to purchase the series, but you would like to help out, you can always leave me a thumbs up on my YouTube video tutorials, or leave a comment and let me know how this video tutorial is helping you. I always appreciate hearing back from people, but also YouTube looks at that type of stuff for engagement and helping to promote video tutorials to other people. Lastly, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. And you can check back here at TorontoWebsiteDeveloper.com for different updates and that kind of thing. That said, let's go ahead and get started. So in the last tutorial, where we left off with was our .install file, and we invoked hook schema. We created a table which had two different fields to it, a flagging ID and the status. And the idea with that is, going back to PHPMyAdmin, is the status will tell us, is this a pending, approved, or denied application, and flagging ID will link us to the flagging table, which has all the actual information about a specific flag or an application. So when that application occurred, the SID, the UID, the entity ID, and whatnot. In a later video tutorial, what I'm going to do, just realized, what I'd like to be able to do is have a field in there of when the actual status was updated. So when was this approved, when was this denied? And so we could just alter our install file because we just created it. But what I'd like to do is take the opportunity to use hook update and show you how we can modify the structure. So that'll be in a later video tutorial, so just keep that in mind. We're back over at our .module file. And now what we want to do is we want to add a status for a flag application when it's actually created. And so the way that we can do that is we'll look at the flag API.php file again, and I'll just minimize this stuff so you can see what we're looking at. And what we need to find in here, and it would be pretty intuitive that they're going to have it, is a hook for when something is actually flagged, and conversely, a hook for when something is actually unflagged. And you'll see here we get hook flag flag. This is when something is actually flagged. And we've got hook flag unflagged, and this is when something is unflagged. So what we want to do is first we'll work with hook flag flag, and you can just copy this function signature and go back over to your flag application.module file, and I'm just going to add this closer to the top because it's a little bit more intuitive, and I'm going to paste in some code here. And so you'll see my comment implements hook flag flag, right? Anytime we create a function, we should actually provide some documentation about it, and this just points you over to the flag API documentation. I've replaced hook with flag application, and then I've gone ahead and I've added DSMs to all of the different parameters associated with this function because I want to know what's inside them. And so what I'm specifically looking for is the flag ID for the actual flag that we've just created, so that I can use that and input that into the database. So let's go back over to our site. Here we go. And what we're going to do is, I'm just going to reload this page, make sure I've got the right stuff here. I've added my code. I can go ahead and hit apply. You'll see nothing comes up. That's because it's an AJAX call. And so I've got to actually reload my page. And then you'll see here all of our DSMs. So this first DSM, what this is going back to the code, this is the actual flag, right? So this is the flag itself. So you can see all the information about the flag. This is what we created as flag application, right? So its actual internal ID is 10, and there you've got the name and then all the different settings that we set up previously. So that's what that is. Then we're getting the entity ID. So this refers to, we're working with a node. So the node is going to be the entity. And if you hover over edit, you'll see that the actual internal path is node/11/edit. So that's what this 11 is referring to. It's the node ID. This third object is actually our account object, and this refers to the user that actually just made the just clicked on the link to flag the node. So it just so happened that it was me, Jaworsk. My user ID is 1, and then you've got all the information about this particular user. Lastly, you've got the actual this instance of the flag, right? So we went ahead and we clicked flag this node, and so this is what was created. We have the flagging ID of 3. So this is particularly what we want. This refers to the actual flag entry in the flagging table. So if I click on flagging table, you see that flagging ID is 3, so I'm going to need that for my table to link the two up. So that's good. And then you can see that it's a flag application, it's an entity ID, and it's a UID and whatnot. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some existing code, and then I'm going to walk you through what this code does. So let's go ahead, copy this, and go back over to our code. Sorry, bear with me. So I'm just going to replace the DSM except for flagging, just in case we want to take a look inside of that again. And what I'm going to do is just paste some code here. So let me walk you through this. First thing we need to do is hook flag applies for every single flag that's out there. So if I go back over to my browser and I go to home, let's see if I have something else. I don't have another one. Bad example, but if I had another flag and I went ahead and I actually clicked that link, all of my DSMs would come up here. So that's not good. What I need to do is I need to make sure that I'm only acting on application. So what I've done here is I've gone ahead, flag name, and remember the first thing we had here was the actual flag itself, and so flag name is flag underscore application. So I'm checking to make sure that that is exactly what I'm working on. So where's my code here? So that's what I've done. I've checked flag. Make sure this should be flag application. Then what I'm doing is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create an insert. So this syntax right here is actually from the new way that Drupal interacts with its database, and it does so through objects. And so what we're doing here is this variable could be anything. So really, I mean, it makes more sense to have it as result. So result is equal to, and I'm calling the function db_insert. And what I'm going to insert into is you pass in the table name. So I'm inserting into flag application. And you'll notice that there is no semicolon here. Then provide an arrow, and we're going to provide some fields. And actually, this is based on old code. So what I really need to do is just give it the flagging ID, get rid of the timestamp there, and just make sure that this matches up with our .install file, which is flagging ID and status. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. So I'm just going to insert two fields, and fields are passed in as arrays. So this should be familiar from my intro to PHP. I've got an array. The first one, the key is flagging ID. This is the name of the field in the database. And you'll see if I go here, that's where I've got flagging ID. And then the actual value that I'm passing in. And so if we head back to the site, you can see here that flagging ID is the key, and then that's going to give me 3. So go back over here, and flagging ID, taking in the last variable here, flagging, and then we're pulling in flagging ID. And then the status is actually going to be equal to 0. That's because according to our module, 0 is nothing's happened, right? So once we have that done, again, another little dash arrow here, and we're going to go ahead and execute that code. So let's go ahead and save that. And we can go back over to our site, and I'm just going to reload this page. And so I'm going to remove my application because there's nothing actually going on there. And let's hit apply. So I've gone ahead and I've applied. I can reload this, and you'll see I get my DSM, the one DSM that we have. Go back to my database. I'm going to click on flag application, and you'll see that I've got flagging ID. I pulled in the flag ID, which is 4, and then my status is 0, right? According to our descriptions here, status of the flag 0 is pending, which makes sense. And if we go back over to flagging, you'll see the only flag that I have is this flagging ID of 4. So that's good. So we've gone ahead and we've created an entry into our table whenever something is actually flagged. But let's check out what happens if we go and we remove that. So I'm going to remove the application. I'm going to reload the page here. It's gone. If I go back to flagging, flagging has no entries. If we go to flag application, we still have an entry. That's a problem. The flag's gone, so we should delete this. So I'm going to manually delete this. Go ahead. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull in the flag unflag. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy some code here. And this should be pretty intuitive to you. You know, it might be a good idea for you to actually pause the video and try this out yourself. See if you can get the code and then compare it to what we actually do. So go ahead and pause right now. And then once you're done, you can come back. So enter code, implements, hook, flag, unflag. And not sure if I brought that. Yep, of course I did. So I'll get rid of that. Flag application, flag, unflag. We're going to get the flag. We're going to get the entity ID. We're going to get the account. We're going to get flagging. So should all be pretty intuitive. We can just do the exact same thing. So we can know here that if flag name is equal to, and this should be flag underscore application. We'll just call this here deleted. Doesn't have to be num deleted. Deleted is equal to, and again, now with this, what we're going to do is actually go to db delete, and we're going to pass in the table that we're deleting from. So flag application, and we're going to add a condition. Okay. So this condition is going to be the flagging ID, right? The exact same, the key for the table, and that has to be equal to flagging the variable flagging ID. So just like we did up here on the insert, we're going to use that as the condition for the delete, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to execute that. We could actually capture the number of rows that are deleted, and we could check that if we wanted to, but we don't. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. I'm going to go back over to my site, and now I'm going to apply. And so we know when we apply that it actually gets created. We've already checked that, but let's be sure. So there we go. We've got one in there. Let's remove our application. Let's reload our page, and we'll go to flagging. We'll see that nothing exists. We go to flag application, and nothing exists. So that's it for this video tutorial. Actually, one last thing I guess I should show you is Drupal. Let's go with a database API. So here, I would bookmark this. This is developing API database. This is exactly what I was telling you about before, and what I was pulling from was dynamic queries. And so you can pull in here, and you can check out how you actually create this type of stuff. If you've got fields here, you can see how you actually get these fields and do a bunch of stuff. This, I guess, book on Drupal is hugely valuable. So definitely, if you're going to be doing any type of development, bookmark this, come back to it often, because you're going to need it, and you're going to want to particularly pay attention to the dynamic queries, and you'll see that there's insert queries right here. So this is what I actually pulled from when I was doing things. So anyways, that's it for this video tutorial. Hopefully this helped you. You learned a little thing. In the next video tutorial, we'll take this a step further, and what we'll actually have to do is create some type of interface where we can start updating these statuses, I don't know, whatever. And that'll be where we approve, we deny, whatnot. So we'll look at some theming there as well. Again, if this video tutorial helped you, give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, let me know. And if you purchase the tutorial series, hugely appreciate it. We'll see you for the next video tutorial. Thanks very much for watching.